Hello, and welcome to the Math Connection. I am Miss Lenz, and we are going to go a little bit further with polynomials today. So we are going to learn how to add and subtract polynomials today. Now, if you need a quick refresher on what polynomials are, you can click on this video here, and it just gives a description of what polynomials are and also what they aren't. So we'll need to know what those are as we're adding and subtracting. And another thing we're going to be using a lot today is the distributive property. So if you need a quick reminder of what the distributive property says, you can go ahead and click on this video and it shows us how to use the distributive property. So let's get into adding and subtracting polynomials. So when we're adding and subtracting polynomials, I like to just remember one rule for all of them, for adding and subtracting. And that is we need to start by distributing if there is, and then we're combining like terms. Distribute, combine like terms, distribute, combine like terms. So let's see an example of what this is going to look like. We have x to the fourth plus 2x to the third minus 9x squared plus 8 plus x plus 8. And we want to add 4x squared minus 2x minus 1. Okay, so what we have up here is we are adding. There's a plus sign in between, and that's really important because a lot of people will confuse multiplying and adding with these ones. So make sure you look what's between the two parentheses. There's a plus sign. So we are trying to add these two polynomials together. We have a big polynomial here and a smaller polynomial here. We're trying to add them, okay? So our two steps, we want to distribute if there's something to distribute. So let's take a look at that. To look for any distributing that I need to do, what we're looking for is numbers that are in front of the parentheses. So right here, is there anything in front of there? There's not in this one. So we could, if we wanted to, this to me is extra, but you could put a 1 here and you could distribute a 1 to each term. But if you think about what that does, multiplying something by 1 does not change the value of it. So that's just extra work. So we wouldn't want to do that. So actually, we don't need to distribute anything in this first parentheses because there's nothing in front of the parentheses. So we can actually bring this whole polynomial down, but we can lose the parentheses because we don't need them because there's nothing to distribute, okay? And if we think along those same lines for this second one, is there something in front of this to distribute? We have a plus sign. And if we wanted to, just like we said before, we could put a little 1 right here and we could distribute a positive 1. But again, multiplying by positive 1 doesn't change that. So for example, positive 1 times 4x squared is just 4x squared still. Positive 1 times negative 2x is still negative 2x. It doesn't change anything. So we can skip that step when we don't need to have it. And in this one, we don't need to have it. So my next part is just to bring my next parentheses down without the parentheses this time. We're going to bring down the 4x squared minus 2x minus 1. Now I have this huge expression here, and the only thing I can do now is my second step, combining like terms. We did any distributing, which there wasn't any in this one. There will be in the future ones, but this one doesn't have it. So our next step is to combine our like terms. Like terms, remember, have to have the same exact variables raised to the same exact exponents. So if I'm looking for this, we also want to write our biggest exponent first. So I'm going to seek out my biggest exponent. My biggest exponent is x to the fourth power, and that's what I'm going to write first. There are no like terms with that one. So that is just going to be my first term in my answer. Let's look for the third powers. We have a third power right here. Again, we don't have any more third powers, so that one's just going to come down, plus 2x to the third. Let's seek out our x squareds. Here's one, and here is another one. We have 2 of these to combine this time. Here we have negative 9. Here we have positive 4. That's going to give me a negative 5x to the third. So that's going to be my next term, minus 5x to the second power. Let's find our plain x terms. We have a positive, and if we want to, we can write that little 1 in there. We have a positive 1 and a negative 2. That's going to give us a negative 1x, which I'm just going to leave as negative x. And lastly are my constant terms. So that is going to be my plus 8 and my minus 1 at the end. And if I combine those, I'm going to get a positive 7 or a plus 7, which is what our constant term will be at the end. So we distributed, and then we just combine any of our like terms, and this right here is my final answer. That's what I get when I add these two polynomials together. Okay? Now, let's take a look at one that is subtraction, because the subtracting ones are generally the ones that are a little bit more tricky. Okay, the directions on these can vary. It could say add, it could say subtract, it might just say simplify. I'm going to use simplify for right now, but just know that it might say something else. It might say add or subtract. So this one is to simplify. So let's have this. X times 3x squared plus 2x minus 9 minus x squared plus 3x minus 10. Okay, so how do I know if I'm adding or subtracting? We're going to do the same thing that we did last time. You need to look in between the two parentheses and see what sign is there. Right here, we have a subtraction sign, so that tells us that we're subtracting. And adding and subtracting polynomials, we follow the same exact rules for those, okay? So we are subtracting, so we're going to distribute if there is, and then we're going to combine our like terms. So let's take care of that. Now, in this one, we do have distributing happening. We have an x in the front of the parentheses. That means that I need to take every term in that parentheses times x. I need to take x times 3x squared and 2x and negative 9, but I don't go any further than that because that's where those parentheses close. So just that first parentheses, okay? So let's start with that. We're going to distribute the x into my parentheses. So x times 3x squared gives us 3x to the third power. X times a positive 2x will be a plus 2x squared, and x times negative 9 will give me negative 9x. And notice I don't have the parentheses anymore because we distributed, so we can get rid of the parentheses. We don't need them anymore, okay? So our first parentheses is taken care of. Our second parentheses is what's next. Now, I have a minus sign right here, right? And if we want to put that little 1 like we did in the last one, I put that 1 there. Now, distributing a negative 1 does change my original because negative 1 times something will change its sign. For example, negative 1 times x squared will make that negative x squared, which is different. Negative 1 times a positive 3x will change it to negative 3x, which is different than the original. So we do have to distribute that negative 1. So let's distribute. Negative 1 times x squared will give me a negative 1x squared, which I'm just going to leave it as negative x squared. Negative 1 times 3x gives me a negative 3x. And my last one, negative 1 times a negative 10, will leave me with a positive 10 at the end. Now I don't have any parentheses left because I did my distributing. My second step, remember, is to combine my like terms. So let's seek out our like terms. We're going to find the biggest exponent first, which is just this first one, and there are no like terms with that one. So that one we're just going to bring down. 3x to the third power. Let's find our x squareds. Here's one. Here's another one. We have 2 of them. You can put a 1 in front of that term if you want to. 2x squareds minus 1x squared will leave me just with 1x squared, and I'm not going to put that 1 in there. I'm just going to leave it as plus x squared. Okay. Our next one is our plain x terms. Negative 9 and negative 3. That'll give us a negative 12x's minus 12x. And then we don't have anything to combine with our constant term. We just have that one of them. So that's going to just come down at the end. Plus 10. Again, this is our final answer after we simplify this big expression up there. Okay. And we can't combine anything in this one because none of those are like terms. So this is my final answer. All right. Let's try one more. Again, it might say simplify, it might say add, might say subtract. It varies. Let's try this one. 3x squared times x plus 9 minus 2 times x squared plus 4 plus 5 times x minus 8. All right, this has a big variety. We are subtracting but we are also adding, okay? So we're just going to start from left to right, and we're going to do any distributing that we have first, and after that we will combine our like terms. So let's start with our distributing. The first one, we're distributing a 3x squared just into the first parentheses right here. So we're only distributing that one twice. So 3x squared times x will give me 3x to the third power. 3x squared times a positive 9 will give me a plus 27x squared. And that's all for that one, okay? Because I hit this minus sign right here, and that means I'm going to be distributing into a different parentheses, okay? So let's look at our second one. We have a negative 2 right here that we are going to be distributing into this parentheses. But again, we're not going to go any further because that's where my parentheses close, okay? So negative 2 times x squared gives me a negative 2x squared. Negative 2 times 4 gives me a negative 8. Done with my second parentheses. We have our third one. Again, looking for any distributing that we have. We have a plus 5 that we're going to distribute into that last parentheses. So we're going to get a positive 5 times x is a plus 5x, and a positive 5 times negative 8 is a negative 40. So I've done any distributing that I have, and again, my last step now is to just combine any like terms that I have. So like terms, we have this first one is our x to the third power. There's nothing that's like that one, so that one's just going to be our first term in our answer. X squared and x squared, these ones are right next to each other. Positive 27 minus 2 will give me a positive 25 of those, plus 25x squared. My x's, I don't have any like terms. I only have that one, so I'm going to bring that one down, plus 5x. And my constant terms, there are 2 of them, negative 8 and negative 40. When I combine those two, will give me a negative 48. This right here is our final simplified answer, and we can't go any further because there are no more like terms. If you liked what you saw today, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you want to go a little bit further with polynomials, you can click on this video, and we're going to start multiplying. There's a lot of different kinds of multiplying for polynomials, so check that out. If you want a practice set on what we did today, you can click in the episode description. There's a short practice set, and again, there are videos that explain each of those answers for you. Thanks for talking about polynomials with me today, and I hope to see you soon.